Over now to Capitol Hill, where lawmakers are back and news is already happening. The House committee investigating Jeffrey Epstein has released the first batch of files related to the deceased sex offender, most of which were already public. The Republican-led Oversight Committee released more than 30,000 pages of records yesterday, stemming from last month's subpoena to the Justice Department. The content of all the records was not immediately clear, but Oversight ranking member Democratic Congressman Robert Garcia of California said only 3% of the files released were actually new. This echoes what he said at the time when DOJ transmitted them. Garcia said the only new disclosure is less than 1,000 pages from Customs and Border Protection detailing flight logs of Epstein's plane and forms for re-entry into the United States. Epstein's name is the only one listed on those logs. As for the rest of the documents, they include already public filings in the criminal cases involving convicted Epstein co-conspirator Ghislaine Maxwell, along with previously released files such as video from inside Epstein's home in West Palm Beach, Florida, and video from inside the jailhouse where Epstein died in 2019. A spokesperson for the Oversight Committee says the DOJ is in compliance with the committee's subpoena and is releasing the documents on a rolling basis. Committee chair, Republican Congressman James Comer of Kentucky, said he plans to release all of the files that the committee receives. Joining us now, Bloomberg Government White House senior reporter Mika Soellner. Mika, let's start there because you've been a Capitol Hill reporter before moving over to the White House. Congratulations on the new gig, but you'll never escape your old beat because I think that's where one of the key points of news is this morning. The Oversight Committee saying that they will release everything, to me, feels like a very notable thing for Comer to say, especially because this oversight investigation, Democrats are saying, is just meant to be a distraction from the fact that the administration is refusing calls to release all of the files around Epstein.
Yeah, absolutely, Ali. I mean, this is one of the tension points that we're going to see between Capitol Hill and the White House when it comes to this. We've obviously seen President Trump try to escape this issue and move forward, saying that there's nothing left to see and has moved on. Obviously, his DOJ has said that there are no files. So there's a lot of back and forth there, but we are seeing a bipartisan support for the release of these files and accountability, and also the question of transparency when it comes to this process. So we're seeing hardliners like Lauren Boebert and Marjorie Taylor Greene, who often align with the president, actually want these files to be released as well, and all of the documentation related to this case. So it's really interesting to see what Republicans are joining with Democrats, and of course, Thomas Massie's push, who will likely force a vote on this.
Yeah, pick up on that because that's separate, right? The Oversight Committee is a committee. It's doing its own thing. Johnson says what makes them an important part of the investigation is that they have subpoena power. OK, that's true. They subpoenaed the Justice Department for the files that they got the first tranche of yesterday. And again, most of those were already public or things that NBC reported on in real time as it was tracking the Epstein case. But the other piece of this is the discharge petition that's going through on Capitol Hill right now. And that's Thomas Massie and Ro Khanna's effort. Remind of who some of the Republicans are that might sign on to that effort, because they say that they've got 4 at this point. They only need 6 Republicans total to get to that 218 number. Do you think they're going to hit it?
Yeah, I mean, Congressman Massey has been making this huge issue for the last month, even before recess. You know, when people had argued that this issue will go away, he said that this is going to be one of the first things he brings up. So I think that we're going to see these people that are often aligned with Trump, like the ones that I just mentioned, MTG, and those support, you know, his efforts on this. And I want to remind people as well, there was an oversight subcommittee panel before recess that actually there were bipartisan votes to, you know, subpoena some of the people involved in this, and that some hardliners joined on that as well.
Yeah, and we're going to have one of the members of that committee coming on later in the show to talk about the work that they've already been doing back in the Capitol. But of course, they had depositions with people like Bill Barr over recess. So that work doesn't stop just because lawmakers are at home. I now want to pivot to your current beat at the White House because we saw President Trump there yesterday. Talk a little bit about what we saw with this boat strike and what he's saying about Tren de Aragua here.
Yeah, I know that Trump is making it a huge effort to kind of go after, you know, what he says are these dangerous gangs that are infiltrating the U.S. Kind of internationally. So I think it's really interesting to see the administration kind of move forward and, you know, take more of an international approach on this, going beyond just their domestic fight. So we're going to see what happens here. I think there's a lot of questions still, and but we'll get those answers soon.
We'll get those answers soon, we hope, and it remains to be seen on if this is something that the president is using as the start of an early pattern or if this was just an isolated strike that he's now talking about publicly. Lots to be seen. White House reporter for Bloomberg Government, Mika Soellner, thank you for coming on with us.